Good evening, everybody. This is Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading. I hope everybody's doing well this evening. I was on our local Attorney General's office for the state of Kentucky, and I came across this section here. This is our Attorney General here, Daniel Cameron. And then I discovered that they have this fighting human trafficking. The Office of the Attorney General is the leading agency in Kentucky's fight against human trafficking. Human trafficking they're defining it as the forced exploitation of someone for labor or sex, and trafficking oppresses adults and children of all races, genders, ages, occupations, and backgrounds. I disagree with him. It's not just about forced exploitation of someone for labor or sex. It could be for any number of things. People are human trafficked, targeted individuals for asset stripping, for fun, for revenge, for sadistic pleasure, for training and development, and for covert experimentation and covert surgical procedures. So I disagree with him here. It's not just about labor or sex. So we'll continue. The Office of Trafficking and Abuse Prevention and Protection, TAPP, handles human trafficking cases and assists local law enforcement with resources in an effort to stop human trafficking in the Commonwealth. And then they go on to what the signs are of human trafficking. Physical or mental abuse, may not have control over their own money, ID of personal possessions, may not be able to speak on their own behalf or unable to leave on their own, may appear to be fearful or submissive, may not know what city or state they're in or where they're living, may work excessively long hours. This is just totally bizarre. And then they have this program called Your Eyes Save Lives. It's sort of like if you see something, say something. You know how the FBI has the see something, say something? Well, Kentucky's got the Your Eyes Save Lives campaign. It combats human trafficking by raising awareness of the signs of human trafficking and empowers citizens, law enforcement, and community leaders to report suspected trafficking. And then it goes on to say that this is what you need to focus on, folks. How it is funded. It is funded by a grant from the Department of Justice, their Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, which is the COPS program. The initiative complements the passage of House Bill 2 by the General Assembly during the 2020 legislative session, which armed the Attorney General's office with new ways to crack down on human trafficking. The new law, which took effect on July 15, 2020, makes it easier for the Attorney General to prosecute traffickers and aids the office in raising awareness about human trafficking by requiring airports, truck stops, bus stations, and train stations to post signs displaying the National Human Trafficking Hotline number. And you could learn more about it here. Your Eyes Save Lives. So what I did was I was curious about this grant. It's funded by the Department of Justice's Office of Community-Oriented Policing. So what I did was I highlighted this. I cut and pasted it in here. And this is what I found. So there is a COPS program here, right? COPS. And then you scroll down here about the COPS office. And this is important, folks. This has to do with targeted individuals. This has to do with the community orienting policing. The criminals on patrol, I call them, or the morons. I call them mops and cops. The morons on patrol and the criminals on patrol cops. The Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, see here, Community-Oriented Policing Services, COPS office, is the component of the U.S. Department of Justice responsible for advancing the practice of community policing by the nation's state, local, territorial, and tribal law enforcement agencies through information and grant resources. Just so you know, folks, grant resources is money. That's financial funding. Okay? So, this is the U.S. Department of Justice, right? The DOJ is responsible for advancing the practice of community policing. So there you go, folks. The Department of Justice is responsible for these community watch snitch groups, right? Along with the FBI See Something, Say Something program. So this one is Your Eyes. You know, what was it? Your eyes save lives. Oh my God. These people are just unbelievable. So community policing begins with a commitment to building trust and mutual respect between police and communities. Is anybody finding any humor in this yet, folks? It is critical to public safety, ensuring that all stakeholders work together to address our nation's crime challenges. When police and communities collaborate, they more effectively address the underlying issues, change negative behavioral patterns, and allocate resources. Well, folks, is that a play on words or what? So the COPS office awards grants to hire community policing professionals, develop and test innovative policing strategies, and provide training and technical assistance to community members, local government leaders, and all levels of law enforcement. Since 1994, the COPS office has invested more than $14 billion to help advance community policing. Do you hear that, folks? I'm going to just repeat a little bit of that over again to drill it home. The Department of Justice is funding, okay, we're going to do it in my words. The Department of Justice is funding the COPS program. This is community policing. This is Citizens on Patrol. These are your community watch groups, your community snitches. These are like my neighbors, the snitches, right? Oh, she's burning her leaves. Oh, she's on her lawnmower. If you see something, say something. They're the gift card whores. So this is $14 billion since 1994 for community policing. The Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services announces an exciting opportunity for an individual with demonstrated experience in law enforcement operations, policies, procedures to assist in strengthening the COPS office capabilities in the development, delivery, and management of technical assistance to law enforcement, community members, and other criminal justice stakeholders as a senior law enforcement advisor for the Collaborative Reform Initiative. So that's a job opportunity for some criminal who wants to head the Collaborative Reform opportunity for a senior law enforcement advisor for the COPS program. So the COPS program basically grants money to your local community watch groups. And the Department of Justice admits right here is responsible for advancing the practice of community policing on the state, local, and territorial and tribal law enforcement agencies through information and grant resources, financial funding. So when police and communities collaborate, they more effectively address underlying issues. Now, what does that mean? What are underlying issues? That sounds like some psychological problem, underlying issues. Like, for instance, in my community, the underlying issues are that the police are complicit in covering up the crimes of perpetrators perpetrating crimes against me and likely other individuals. Changing negative behavioral patterns? Well, good luck with that, because behavioral patterns of behavior persist. If you want to change behavioral patterns, you do it in childhood. So where does this COPS program have the audacity to even think it's their responsibility to change negative behavior patterns? And also, how do they go about doing that? How do they change negative behavioral patterns? Well, that's a good question, folks. We should find out. What is the mode of operation for changing a negative behavioral pattern with their allocated financial resources through a community sheeple watch program? Community-oriented policing. How do they expect, or what will they do to change negative behavior patterns? And what constitutes a negative behavior pattern? And who is making the determination of what a negative behavior pattern is? I find this absolutely ludicrous. However, it confirms in my mind how much money is being distributed to these community watch groups and how it's being perpetrated and by the Department of Justice. This is how these people are getting away with literally murder. Please comment down below, folks. What are your thoughts on this COPS program? I remember Helena Chorba, before she was murdered. She mentioned something about the COPS program, and I remember her performing a FOIA request. I don't remember who exactly it was to. I would have to go look that up. But she said that that was a program to keep your eye on. The COPS program and the See Something, Say Something program. But anyway, I hope everybody's having a good evening, and this finds you well. If you think that this information is interesting, please feel free to forward it to your family, friends. And comment down below, what are your thoughts on this community policing? Do you think it's necessary? Do you think it's harmful to the community? Do you think that community policing needs to have an oversight? Somebody needs to be overseeing these people. And how are they being trained? How long are they being trained? And why is it that we could have a community-oriented policing in a community, but nobody knows who they are? How come a memo isn't distributed in the community of who these people are? Why is it kept a secret? But I hope everybody's doing well. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading signing off for now.